Hi everybody, my name's Andrew and I have a problem. I really desperately need a haircut. But more importantly than that, I also like buying German cars, like this one. I've been living with this 2018 Audi S4 for roughly the last year and 20,000 miles. And in that time, it has proven itself to be the single most expensive car I've ever owned. And I've owned something like 12 or 13 cars in the last 6 years. And I don't just mean most expensive in terms of price, although it is tied with my Ram truck for that title. I mean most expensive in terms of running costs, reliability, and depreciation. So, in this video, as I prepare to sell this car, we're going to talk about some of those things today. But first, let's take a quick walk around of it. Starting with the exterior, as mentioned, this is a 2018 B9 generation S4 with the Prestige package and S Sport package finished in glacier white metallic. Overall, the S4 follows Audi's typical mantra with their performance cars of very subtle, understated styling. And personally, I love that. I think this is a good-looking car. It's not overstyled in any way. And to be honest, if you didn't really know the difference, you would just think it was a regular A4. In fact, I'd be willing to bet that if I debadged this car and stuck a little 1.8T badge or something right there, that nobody would notice. Although, to be fair, most normal people really don't give a shit anyway. There is one thing you'd probably notice, though, and that is the sound. Because, of course, the S4 has a completely different engine than the A4, a 3-liter turbocharged V6. The B9 S4 has gotten tons of hate for its sound, and while it certainly doesn't sound as good as the old supercharged S4s, it's not bad. It has a deeper tone in person that's hard to pick up on camera, and I think it sounds nice. It's also not as good as the BMW's straight 6 and the M340, but unlike BMW, the pops and burbles in this are fairly restrained and well done. Speaking of the engine, aside from it being incredibly dirty under here, just ignore that, this V6 in stock form produces 355 horsepower and 370 foot-pounds of torque. That said, I have a Unitronic Stage 1 ECU tune on this car, or Stage 1 Plus rather, that bumps those numbers up to 460 horsepower and 480 foot-pounds of torque at the crank. Pretty healthy numbers for an otherwise factory car. All S4s come with an 8-speed ZF automatic and all-wheel drive, and thanks to those two things, in stock form it puts down a rather quick 0 to 60 of 4.2 seconds, but tuned, as tested, I've been able to do 3.7 out of this car. Hopping inside, this is what the key looks like, with a nice little S logo on the back there. You'll notice keyless access points on all 4 doors, which I love, and inside this car features the optional full Nappa leather in black, with silver stitching and carbon fiber trim. Overall, the interior of this car is holding up very, very well, minus a little bit of wear on the seat bolsters, but that's pretty much unavoidable from getting in and out. This thing still feels brand new in here in terms of design and technology, and is absolutely loaded with features, including the virtual cockpit or digital gauge cluster, heads-up display, radar cruise control, Apple CarPlay, massaging seats, B&O sound system, adaptive LED headlights, the list goes on and on and on. This car had an original MSRP of over $64,000, so basically as fully loaded as you could get an S4. And I already covered most of my likes and dislikes about the inside of this car in a previous video, which I'll link down below, but spoiler alert, they're fairly minor. So let's talk about reliability, and I want to preface this by saying that I have also previously owned 3 BMWs and a Volkswagen All-Track, which have been mostly flawless. I also owned a VR6 Passat wagon that wasn't, but that was also a much older, higher mileage car. Now, German cars, as we know, are somewhat hit or miss in terms of reliability, maintenance costs, things like that. But like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, this Audi has been by far the most expensive car I've ever owned. And I guess let's just dive right in. So I bought the car in July of last year, which by the time you're seeing this, basically 14 months or so ago. And almost immediately from the get-go, I had to sink about $3,000 into it to fix a few things. One being a wheel bearing that failed at 60,000 miles, which is somewhat unusual. The coolant level sensor, because the car continually told me that it was low on coolant, even though it wasn't. And brakes all the way around. Now, granted, brakes are a consumable item and not out of the ordinary at 60,000 miles, but they were still quite expensive on this car for pads and rotors all the way around. The entire time I've owned this car, I've had tons of little electrical gremlins. For one thing, the front parking sensors, as I've mentioned in previous videos, just randomly go off in low-speed driving sometimes for seemingly no reason. Sometimes the passenger seat, for context, the front seats in this car are adaptive. They have power side bolsters and four-way lumbar and all sorts of different adjustments. For whatever reason, sometimes the passenger seat just kind of inflates the bolsters and the lumbar and deflates them by itself. Not really sure what causes that, and always a little odd to hear. There's a random parking brake fault that I sometimes get, that it pops up after you turn the car off, and the parking brake has worked perfectly fine the entire time I've had this car, so not sure what causes that either. And there was an auto stop start error message randomly sometimes, but I actually disabled the entire auto stop start system through OBD11 and haven't had that issue since. More worryingly though, there is a intermittent drivetrain fault that produces a boost control code and sends the car into limp mode some of the time. Now, initially I thought this might be due to my tune, the car just having trouble regulating the extra boost or something like that, but Unitronic is a pretty reputable tuning company, and I've never had an issue with them in the past. And based on the other symptoms and... Okay, we're just coming on out. Joys of back roads. Based on the other symptoms that I've seen and the noises that I've started to hear from the turbo, I think it's most likely the wastegate actuator starting to fail. And my experience with Kias shows me that a wastegate actuator, it's not doing it right now, luckily. A wastegate actuator on a turbo Kia Sportage is in the neighborhood of $700 with labor, so I can only assume that one for an Audi S4 would be at least that expensive, if not more. The car has also started leaking oil from the PCV valve. Now that PCV breather valve is a little bit less expensive than the wastegate actuator. I got a quote for somewhere between $400 and $500 with labor, but it's not something I've fixed because the oil leak isn't that bad yet. This car is also due for a new set of tires soon. Now, again, that's a consumable wear item, so not out of the ordinary, but the Michelin Super Sport Summers that are on this car are quite expensive at $1,500 or so a set, and if I was going to be keeping this car, definitely something I would have to get fixed fairly soon. And finally, let's discuss depreciation, because the past few years, the car market has been rather fucked, if we're honest, and cars haven't really been depreciating in the way that they normally have, which is why my last few cars I've been able to chop and change through without really losing any money on them, or the loss being fairly minor, just, maintenance costs and fuel and things like that. Now, this car, a year ago in July, was $38,000, which was a fair market value at the time. Now, a year later, thanks to the way the car market has shifted, and the fact that this car now also has an accident on its history, Blue Book retail on it is barely $30,000. So when you factor in the several $1,000s that I've spent on various maintenance, repairs, and the work that it also still currently needs, that brings the 1-year ownership running costs of this S4 well into the 5 digits, which is a lot for a car that only cost 5 digits anyway. Ouch. So do I regret buying this S4? Well, no, I don't. Despite all its issues, I still love this car. It is a fantastic car in my eyes, a fantastic daily driver, and as you saw just a minute ago, quite fun when it works properly. So, I mean, the only other car that I was really strongly considering at the time that I bought this car was a Golf R, a Mark 7.5 facelift Golf R, and I don't know that I wouldn't have gotten bored of that car fairly quickly. I just have a feeling that I would have, which is why I went with the S4 in the first place. It was a little bit more different to cars that I'd owned in the past, and that's kind of what I wanted. I didn't really want another, little turbo 4-cylinder Volkswagen. I wanted something a little bit nicer than that, and frankly, I didn't just want a 4-cylinder again. Now, I certainly would not have lost as much money on that car if I had bought a Golf R, because Golf Rs have and always will hold their value insanely well. But overall, I've been really happy with the S4, despite all of the issues and how much it's cost me. And with that, that's where I'm going to wrap this video up. As always, thanks for tuning in. Be sure to check out my new website, alsoandrew.com, link down below for additional content. And if you enjoyed this video or found it informative, give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing for plenty more content to come.